Washington.
Mr. President, I rise today to speak in favor of the nomination of Jared Issacman to be the next NASA administrator. But first, I want to make a few comments about the unbelievable weather events that are impacting the Pacific Northwest. We've had, as many people have seen from national news, atmospheric rivers and unbelievable rain impacting many of our rivers in the western part of Washington, reaching record levels and above record levels and impacting flooding throughout the region. We obviously had another weather event last night, and the last couple of days have had what some people described as going to be 50 to 60 mile an hour winds that ultimately in some places in the state were recorded at 90 mile an hour winds. So this morning we're facing 350,000 people who are without power and a blizzard on the way. And while I think that some people think, well, it's a very mountainous area and you should probably have severe winter weather, not really in the history of our state. I think we've had 6 blizzards in the whole history of our state. So the fact that now a blizzard is on the way on top of the record flooding and the flooding events still predicted to come back to record cresting of many of our rivers is making it a very challenging time for the state of Washington. So we certainly appreciate all the first responders, all the law enforcement that are working in the community, all the work that the governor's office is doing, all the work that partnership we are now getting from FEMA, the Army Corps of Engineers, and Homeland Security to try to address this as a national emergency, and clearly to try to gather information about the direct economic impacts in hopes that we will get support for these issues. We've had a border crossing that was closed and certainly is still closed to commercial traffic. We have one of our major highways, Highway 2, that the governor has now announced will be closed for months, greatly impacting transportation and trade within our region. We have other routes across the Cascades duly impacted. So I can say that there are some positive stories out of this, that coordination, that actually things that mitigated and adapted with a levee system to prevent some of the record amount of rain from doing even more damage have been successful. I'm sure that we'll all share this with our colleagues in the future, but right now we need continued help and focus in the state of Washington given these severe weather impacts, and again appreciate those federal agencies who are helping, FEMA and the Army Corps of Engineers. Mr. President, I support the Issacman nomination. In fact, I supported him the first time he was nominated. He was not pushed through the Senate, not the usual path for somebody to be nominated and then their nomination reversed, but then supported again by the president. But I do believe Mr. Issacman is capable of successfully navigating the challenges facing the agency. I want to take a minute and thank Secretary Duffy for serving as an excellent stewardship of NASA during his tenure where we didn't have an acting administrator. I hope the experience is giving the Secretary an increased appreciation for the expertise and research capabilities that NASA brings to bear in developing technology to protect aviation safety and the competitiveness of our aeronautics sector. That's clearly an important missing aspect of the FAA, having the best technology and the best understanding of how that technology impacts aviation safety. So more partnerships here I support. I also want to highlight a key decision that Secretary Duffy made that I believe is important to our national leadership in human space exploration. In September, witnesses told the Commerce Committee that the SpaceX Lunar lander would not be ready to put Americans back on the moon either in 2027 or 2028. This would almost certainly mean we would lose the race to China, which was unacceptable. In response, Secretary Duffy directed NASA to reopen the competition for Artemis lunar landing mission to ensure that a lander can be ready by the end of 2028, and I believe this was a correct decision, and I am pleased that our nominee, Mr. Issacman, agrees. I would also like to note that Secretary Duffy came to NASA in a particularly perilous time for the agency, as evidenced in a whistleblower report that my office released in September. Before Secretary Duffy arrived, OMB Director Vaught had been pushing NASA to implement dangerous cuts in the president's proposed budget proposal for fiscal year 2026, disregarding the law and the impacts on NASA's mission and safety. As my colleagues know, the President's budget request called for cutting NASA's budget nearly a quarter, its workforce by nearly a third, and its science funding by half. Simply put, this is not the way we're going to win the race to the moon or accomplish anything else enduring for that matter. Fortunately, I believe Mr. Issacman recognizes that some of the most talented people in America work at NASA. I know the presiding officer agrees with this, and that we need to be investing in NASA's mission, not gutting them. During his nomination process, Mr. Issacman emphasized the importance of developing a pipeline of future scientists, engineers, researchers, astronauts to support the science and technology development and align with NASA's objectives. I strongly agree. I look forward to working with Administrator Issacman on the future STEM talent with both NASA and more broadly with the aerospace and innovation sector. Fair questions have been raised about Mr. Issacman's Project Athena strategic plan, which was drafted in May and leaked to the press. I've asked Mr. Issacman about this plan. In response, he told me the plan was intended to be a proposed approach to collecting data and information from NASA and the space community, serving as a starting point in an in-depth conversation with NASA's management employees on how to ensure NASA remains the world's preeminent aerospace and technology organization. Mr. Issacman assured me that this plan was not part of a misguided effort to sell off capacities or slash the workforce or have reckless actions like DOGE had proposed earlier. He promised to share with us the results of the study and analysis with Congress and to engage in a dialogue with the committee before doing any implementation. I take Mr. Issacman at his word, and I do look forward to working with him on these particular promises. So, Mr. President, I know you're a huge supporter of Mr. Issacman and have helped promote his renomination. We're here now with an important mission between this institution and what our national objectives are in going back to the moon. I am optimistic that Mr. Issacman will bring a steady hand and clear vision to NASA. I hope we can partner together, all of us, to achieve this incredible thing for the American people. I know it is time for us to return, and there is much at stake with international competition. I hope my colleagues will join me in supporting Mr. Issacman on the floor. I thank the President, and I yield the floor.